In the news this morning, Mikhail Gorbachev is in China for the first Sino-Soviet summit in 30 years. U.S. troops take up defensive positions at American bases in Panama, and in this country, Los Angeles teachers are on strike. In sports, the Lakers, they sweep their NBA playoff series while Chicago pushes the Knicks to the brink of elimination. There's more rain in the forecast for the East, and Donald Regan on how far the government should go to help American companies develop high-definition TV. I'm John Palmer. Deborah Norville is on assignment, and this is Monday, May the 15th.
This is NBC News at Sunrise with Deborah Norville.
In the news this morning, the leaders of the world's most powerful communist countries are talking again. Mikhail Gorbachev is in China this morning for the first Sino-Soviet summit in 30 years. But the four-day summit has gotten off to an awkward start. Thousands of protesting students have forced the government to abandon its plans for an elaborate welcoming ceremony. More on the summit now from NBC News correspondent Keith Miller in Beijing.
The welcoming ceremony was confined to Beijing's international airport, where Soviet and Chinese officials would not have to contend with protesting crowds. The first step toward normalizing Sino-Soviet relations was taken in a bold stride, but the ceremony had to be shortened. The Chinese would have preferred to have the artillery in Tiananmen Square, but it was packed with people demonstrating for democracy. This is where Gorbachev was supposed to have been welcomed. But for more than 24 hours, it has been the scene of an extraordinary demonstration for greater freedom.
I feel very tired, but I have to insist to go on.
The protest is a major embarrassment to the Chinese government. It wanted the summit to be a showcase for China's emergence as a world power. Still, the significance of the summit has not been obscured. Mikhail Gorbachev's visit, the first by a Soviet leader in 30 years, will allow the world's two communist giants to exchange ideas about reform. What both sides already know is that moving from a tightly controlled society to an open one is not a painless process. Keith Miller, NBC News, Beijing.
Argentina has elected a new president in what could be the first non-military transfer of power there in more than 60 years. Carlos Menem, the candidate of the opposition Peronist Party, claimed victory last night and then quickly appealed for unity in dealing with the country's staggering money crisis. Menem will succeed President Raul Alfonsín, who managed to defeat 3 military rebellions in his 5.5 years in office, but could not overcome Argentina's unemployment and inflation problems. The Army is trying to keep the peace in Panama this morning. Opposition supporters are expected to take to the streets again today to protest the government's decision to scrap last week's presidential election. They claim they won, and most foreign observers agree. As tensions increase, additional U.S. troops have taken up defensive positions at American bases in Panama. More on that now from NBC News correspondent Martin Fletcher.
They're ready for combat, but they hope not to fight. Their mission is to protect American citizens in Panama.
That's why they pay us, okay? That's one of the reasons that we wear the salad suit, is to one day come here and do this kind of thing.
But the 1,900 U.S. troops President Bush sent to back up 10,000 already stationed here are also a warning to Panama's stubborn Army Chief, General Manuel Noriega.
It's nice to come in on the side of the good guys, you know what I'm saying?
He's saying the troops could be used to back up the opposition, who claim they won the election, only to have General Noriega steal their victory. The call is for justice, democratic justice, in a land where power lies with the gun. Some of the opposition want the U.S. troops to intervene, believing Noriega's force can only be answered with more force.
If it's the last resource to get Noriega out, then they should do what they have to do.
But most want the U.S. troops to keep out of it and hope that peaceful pressure from inside and outside will ultimately persuade General Noriega to leave Panama. Martin Fletcher, NBC News, Panama.
In this country, President Bush today will unveil the battle plans for his war on crime. The strategy, aides say, is to catch more criminals and to make sure they spend time behind bars. The president will ask Congress for money to hire more police and prosecutors, and he will reportedly request $1 billion to build new prisons. School teachers in Los Angeles are walking picket lines this morning. It's the first school strike there in 19 years. Pay is the big issue, and as NBC's Keith Morrison reports this morning, the two sides are very far apart.
At the top of the list, the reason for the walkout is money. Teachers are demanding 21% over 2 years, plus greater influence over how the schools are run. The school board has offered a 3-year 21% increase, saying there's no more money to be had. It's been an emotional time. Rising parental protests over the weekend, informal private talks between the teachers and the school board. But in public, things were said by both sides about each other, and now no solution is in sight. The teachers' union said it would take a miracle to prevent a strike, the first in 19 years. Phone calls were made to teachers reminding them about picket assignments. Roberta Weintraub, Board of Education president, held a news conference saying it was up to the teachers, not management, to come up with a solution. It is a battle in which it seems there will be no winners, but among the losers, some 600,000 students. Keith Morrison, NBC News, Los Angeles.
In London this morning, the teachers are working, but the bus and subway drivers are taking the day off. The one-day strike by transit workers has left many London commuters with no way to get to their jobs. Money is the sticking point, the latest pay increase offered by the government below the rate of inflation. Transit workers say they'll stage additional one-day walkouts until the government comes up with the cash. And up next here on a very busy morning in sports, Don Crickey has the highlights from the basketball and hockey playoffs and all of the baseball when we return.
U.S. Sprint proudly announces fiber optic 800 services for businesses large and small. No matter what you're selling by phone, your customers will sound closer and your calls will cost less. Get America's only nationwide 100% fiber optic 800 service for your business. Call Sprint now and talk with the best.
The Audi 3-year test drive. 3 years of German style without the responsibilities of ownership. 3 years of German luxury with none of the scheduled maintenance costs. 3 eminently affordable years with the car you've always desired. Don't let a lease this impressive pass you by.
For more information, call 1-800-AUDI-3YR.
Now with a look at basketball and other games of sport, Don Crickey. Morning, Don.
Good morning, John. The Los Angeles Lakers have played 7 playoff games so far this year and have won them all. Their bid for a 3rd straight NBA championship is going well. The Lakers have now swept Portland and Seattle in the first 2 rounds. When Derek McKee of Seattle slammed these 2 points home, the Sonics owned a 29-point lead yesterday. Was Laker coach Pat Riley worried? Perhaps not, as James Worthy ignited a 16-0 Laker run. He scored 33 for the day. Riley has seen all this before. Another score by James Worthy put Los Angeles up in a 97-95 win. The Phoenix Golden State winners next for the mighty Lakers. At Chicago, the mighty Jordan lit up the scoreboard, scoring 47 points as the Bulls again beat the New York Knicks 106-93. Chicago now leads the series 3-1. And Detroit is really cooking. The Pistons beat Milwaukee again 110-90 to go up 3-0. In hockey, Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals is a big one. The team that has taken Game 1 in the past has gone on to win the Cup over 80% of the time. Calgary won Game 1 last night. Theoren Fleury of the Flames scored the game winner, breaking a 2-all tie with the Canadiens. With this second-period goal, Calgary 3, Montreal 2 was the final. Baseball's defending world champions, the Dodgers, broke out of a scoring slump yesterday. The Dodgers have gone 25 innings without a run. Eddie Murray unloaded a pair of home runs for Los Angeles in a 9-0 rout of the Phillies. Hershiser with the shutout win. In other games, the Braves beat the Pirates. Montreal edged the Giants. The Mets got by the Padres. Cincinnati swept the Cardinals. Houston over the Cubs. In the American League East, the Indians continued their rise to mediocrity, but that's good enough for a share of the lead with equally mediocre Boston. Corey Snyder of the Indians took a base hit from Detroit's Chris Brown as Cleveland beat the Tigers to reach 500. Good for a share of first. Boston is also first with a 17-17 record. Milwaukee won, so did the White Sox. At Anaheim, ex-Yankee Claudell Washington helped California shut out New York 5-0, taking extra bases away from Steve Sachs. Kansas City over Texas. Minnesota bombed Toronto. There were some great plays in the field yesterday, but not in the stands. At Philadelphia, a man gave it all he had and then some in pursuit of a foul ball. In the end, he gained the prize and celebrated his personal victory while the Phillies were getting hammered by the Dodgers. Bob Tway won the Memorial Golf Tournament. Kentucky Derby winner Sunday Silence is now questionable for the upcoming Preakness with a bruised foreleg. And that's sports, John.
Okay, Don, thank you. Well, it's been raining in Pittsburgh for the past 14 days, and it's going to rain there again today. Joe Whitty's national forecast is next on NBC News at sunrise.
If I were going to create the perfect place, I'd start with the north. I would carve out rivers and rolling hills, then ride the moon south and warm the skies with a tropical sun. I would dot the west with little hometowns and fill the east with excitement. Right in the middle, I'd put a great big playground. I would surround it all with water from coast to coast to coast. And I'd give it a name, Florida.
Oh, boy, fruit and fiber. No, it's new fruit and fiber.
Beg your pardon?
Mm-hmm. Well, you see, they added 25% more dates, raisins, and walnuts to the dates, raisins, and walnuts. So now it's the great tasting fruit and fiber.
Just because they added more dates, raisins, and walnuts doesn't change the name. It's still fruit and fiber.
No. Matter of fact, it's so delicious, they should call it fruit and fruit and fruit and fruit and fiber.
New Post Fruit and Fiber cereal, now with 25% more dates, raisins, and walnuts.
Jimmy Carter, owner of Tupelo Marble Works, is a craftsman who creates a work of art in each monument designed to preserve those precious memories through the ages. He learned his trade working with his father, also a professional memorialist. Visit Tupelo Marble Works and get quality workmanship at factory discount prices. Plus, for a limited time, receive 2 free vases for the purchase of any double or companion monument. Free delivery and installation within 100 miles of Tupelo. Tupelo Marble Works, East Main, Tupelo.
The probability is there. You don't even start a race car without your seatbelt on. Without it, I wouldn't even be here. Man, I know what to expect on the track. It's driving with amateurs on the highway that scares me. Drive like a pro. Buckle up.
Hold on to your rain hats, Pittsburgh. Here's Joe Whitty again with another wet forecast. Joe, good morning.
Good morning, John. Good to have you here this morning. Good morning, everyone. Yes, Pittsburgh, you've had 14 wet days. You're going to have one more, making a record 15th day in a row due to that upper-level disturbance. Meanwhile, East Kansas still remains bone dry with extreme drought conditions, and the new 30-day outlook does not indicate any real break for that dry spell for the Kansas farmers. But right now, for the rest of the day, western Kansas, parts of Oklahoma, Texas, we'll have some very heavy downpours from some severe thunderstorms, and some tornadoes are quite likely this morning. Now, in the east, some strong thunderstorms are likely from North Carolina, Virginia, up through southern New Jersey, and rain is likely to move over Philadelphia, New York later today. Over Boston by late tonight. In the Mountain West, a few scattered showers, and the cool spot today, Colorado and Wyoming, with highs there only in the 50s. But look at Minneapolis, St. Paul, a warm spot. Highs there close to 80 degrees on this Monday afternoon. That's my national weather. Now here's what's happening in your neighborhood. Well, places like L.A., only a high of 66 degrees today. Phoenix, 84 degrees. New York, 65 with mostly cloudy skies. Boston going up to 64. And coming up next, airport delays on this business travel Monday morning. John?
Thanks, Joe. The news continues in just a moment. You are watching NBC News at sunrise.
This week, Indy's back in Today's Got 'Em. We'll preview the summer blockbuster Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade and talk with Harrison Ford and Sean Connery exclusively on Today.
In May 1981, an innovation in rehabilitation services came to Mississippi. It was the Jackson Center for Independent Living, and it enabled us to serve severely disabled individuals. This year, the Mississippi legislature authorized expansion of this program that will now allow us to serve the entire state with new centers in Oxford and Long Beach. For more information, contact your local rehabilitation office or call toll-free 1-800-443-1000.
Join us for WTVA Morning News weekdays at 7:25 and 8:25.
These are some of the stories we're watching this morning on NBC News at sunrise. Gorbachev arrives in Beijing for a summit with the Chinese. Words of caution about Panama from U.S. officials. Kentucky bus crash victims remembered a year later. And in business, airlines drop summer fare hikes. Details just ahead. This morning on Vital Signs, a report on an unusual partnership between a doctor and his patients. The doctor takes care of them, and they take care of him. And as Bob Dotson explains, it's an arrangement that benefits both.
Dr. Seifert and Kine's office, may I help you?
Milt Seifert is running a bit late this morning.
Oh, my God.
Donald Merhar's appointment was for 10:30.
About time, don't you think?
It is now noon.
There's something I can give you for that.
But folks here have a way to correct poor service.
Just how many have waited in Milt's office for Milt? Raise your hand.
16 years ago, Dr. Seifert formed a patient advisory council and has been meeting regularly with the members ever since.
One of the complaints I hear is you don't think my time is as valuable as your time.
If I have to wait in your office for 45 minutes or an hour, then I wonder, where's the reimbursement?
Should we pay for people's time?
They do more than gripe. Doc Seifert's patients help him set his fees and even his salary. One year he made less than a school teacher, but that's improving because patients now help him collect his bills.
We're more than willing to accept whatever you can pay each month.
When?
Doc now faces a new problem.
I heard it's your birthday. Yes, that's right. No kidding.
Big corporations are luring away his patients with the promise of medical care for one low monthly price.
Feel better, give us a call on Monday.
Those that remain like his personal touch and are trying to make his business more competitive.
Hi, this is Carol Jean. You have about 3 patients in the waiting room.
You'll like him. He's nice looking.
Is he?
Healthcare requires partnership. And I think it's essential to practice medicine that way.
Milt's patients deliver medicines for those who are sick
Should we go sit on the picnic table?
and make sure the older ones take care of themselves.
Watch your step there.
They've agreed to help each other stay healthy.
Did you cut down on your smoking yet?
That keeps Doc's paid staff small. He can afford to make a house call now and then.
Okay, now let's take a couple of real deep breaths.
Milt grew up around these people.
I think you may have a little fluid on that side.
His dad was a family doctor, too.
Looks good.
In this complicated world of modern medicine, he is a trusted friend who makes sure folks get what they pay for.
If the cost were on a line, then what we can do is have you pay something once a month.
Competition from those big medical corporations has forced Milt Seifert to take a second job. Ironically, he is moonlighting at just such a clinic.
Ma'am, there will be kind of a long wait, just to let you know.
His salary is 3 times what he makes per hour in his own practice. But Doc says that kind of medicine overlooks a lot.
Get them in and get them out, keep them moving, do it as fast as you can. And that's what pays the best.
It's easier to figure a doctor's pay by the number of patients he sees.
Let your muscles go loose.
It's harder to set a price on caring.
Jay?
Bob Dotson, NBC News, Excelsior, Minnesota.
And when we come back, we'll have more news. Doug Cease of the Wall Street Journal will preview today's market day, and Joe Woody has another check of the weather. Please stay with us. Topping our news this morning, the first Chinese-Soviet summit in 30 years begins with a bit of a hitch. Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev has arrived in Beijing for 4 days of talks with Chinese leaders. At the last minute, though, welcoming ceremonies for Gorbachev were moved from Tiananmen Square to the airport because thousands of students refused to end their protest vigil in the square. The students are demanding political and economic reform. Arthur Davis, the U.S. ambassador to Panama, is set to travel to Washington today for consultations with President Bush over the deteriorating situation in Panama. The president has urged the Panamanian people to overthrow the government of Manuel Noriega. Panama's Catholic bishops denounced electoral fraud in a pastoral letter read in churches there on Sunday. And in this country, there has been a strong bipartisan support to keep pressure on Noriega. Former Ambassador Saul Linowitz was supportive while urging caution.
I would not like to see this a U.S.-Panamanian confrontation. And it seems to me that if we are on the slippery slope, it is if we continue down this path alone and don't work with the other countries.
Secretary of State James Baker is rejecting calls to void the Panama Canal Treaty as counterproductive. In Kentucky on Sunday, the unveiling of a monument to the victims of one of the nation's worst bus crashes. Marking the first anniversary of the tragedy were many of the children who survived the crash. 27 people, all but 3 of them children, were killed when their church bus was hit by a pickup truck going the wrong way on a Kentucky highway. Navy officials have begun their investigation into the fiery explosion that killed 2 crewmen aboard the aircraft carrier America this weekend. The blast occurred in a fuel pump room as the ship was about 500 miles off North Carolina. The accident was the 3rd aboard a Navy ship in just the past month. And in business news this morning, 2 major airlines have scratched planned fare hikes. It's good news for summer travelers as both TWA and United are dropping their price hikes for discount summer fares. The Wall Street Journal says the airlines decided against those increases when several competitors wouldn't match the increases, which could have added $20 to $80 for deep discount fares. The stock market begins the week at its highest level since the October 1987 crash. The Dow Jones Industrial Average soared almost 57 points in heavy trading Friday to close at 2439.70. Standard & Poor's 500 stock index closed at 313.84, up almost 7 points. The Shearson Lehman long-term Treasury bond index was also up sharply on Friday, and in London this morning, the long bonds are up from Friday's close in New York. Looking ahead to today's market day, here's the Wall Street Journal's Doug Cease. Good morning, Doug.
Hi, John.
When I came in this morning, I had 3 messages that my broker had tried to reach me late Friday afternoon. What in the world do you think he wanted?
He wants you to get into the market further, I suspect. That big rally on Friday was prompted by the idea that inflation is slowing more than we expected. That's good news because it might mean a lower interest rate sometime in the near future.
Are we really in a bull market now? Is it the full-fledged market like that?
I'd hesitate to go that far yet. We still got some hurdles to cross. One of them comes this Thursday when we get the consumer price index. The wholesale price index the other day was down pretty nicely, but consumer prices, which include health care, other services, could be up a frightening amount.
What about interest rates? Are we out of the woods there?
Well, interest rates are going to depend on what the Fed decides to do in the next few weeks. I don't think they're going to ease yet. They're too concerned that inflation may resurge, but you might find some of the New York banks easing the prime rate pretty soon as sort of an anticipation of the Fed easing later.
So the situation generally is kind of, I gather, on an upbeat mode here.
Yeah, I'd say absolutely. There's quite a bit of optimism on Wall Street these days.
Doug, thank you for being with us.
Okay.
Have a nice day. Well, the dollar is up in early European trading this morning. It's higher against the Japanese yen, up against the West German mark, and trading higher against the British pound. The price of gold at 9 a.m. in London was $374.25 an ounce. And that's down $3.65 from Friday's close in New York. The price is reported by Mokata Futures Corporation. And when we come back, Donald Regan will be here to talk about who should help pay the high price to develop high-definition television.
Take the Audi 3-year test drive. Attain German performance without the investment of ownership. Acquire German innovation without the responsibilities of scheduled maintenance costs. Possess a car that's most desirable on a lease that's most affordable. The ride may last 3 years, but the offer is limited.
For more information, call 1-800-AUDI-3YR.
It was a mystery. They all seemed alike. Which one had the fewest calories? The answer was staring at me. New Ultimate 90, the lowest calories per ounce. Deliciously fruity.
Weight Watchers Ultimate 90. This is living.
This is one of 570 million refund locations for American Express traveler's checks. Now you can get a refund virtually anywhere there's a phone. Only from American Express traveler's checks. So if your bank doesn't carry them, go to one that does.
If you have hay fever, you can look and look. It can be very confusing trying to find a hay fever product that relieves your sneezing, stuffy nose and your watery eyes without making you drowsy in the bargain. Very confusing.
See your doctor and end the confusion, because now you can get fast relief from all your hay fever symptoms without the drowsiness you may have had before. See your doctor.
Merrill Dow Pharmaceuticals.
The next frontier in television is high-definition TV with a picture and sound as clear as that found in a movie theater. The Japanese are at work on an HD TV system that will begin broadcasting satellite testing on July the 1st. In this country, the electronics industry is behind in development of high-definition TV and is asking now for government help. Specifically, companies like Hewlett-Packard, IBM, and others are looking to the federal government for research and development money to the tune of $1,350 million. Donald Regan has been studying the question of grants and loans for HD TV, and he joins us, as you can see now, from Washington. Good morning, Don.
Morning, John.
The U.S. has certainly fallen behind the Japanese and even the Europeans in television and home video production. What about this $1.33 billion request for research money?
Well, I think that's kind of too much. That's really being very, very avaricious on the part of the American electronic industry. I can see, John, that we probably should change our antitrust laws in order to allow these companies to get together in order to come up with a single system for high-definition TV, and also in order to come up with the actual sets themselves. We probably should help them with research and development. But what I cannot understand is they're asking the United States government to give them $500 million just to build factories and another $500 million to handle their inventory and their working capital. That's ridiculous.
Well, Don, as you know, some companies, some individuals say, not companies, but individuals, that the federal government has no business getting into private enterprising, helping them out. The same people, I guess, who didn't like the bailout of Chrysler.
Well, I happen to be one of those. But on this particular instance, I do think that we probably should take a lesson from Sematech, which we've done, that is, with the chip industry and making transistors. Allow the federal government to make certain that these companies can get together, but not in a way that they will violate any antitrust regulations.
There's some Defense Department involvement here, isn't there?
Well, yes, the Army and the Navy both would like high-definition television for battlefield conditions later on. Therefore, they're willing to chip in about $30 million as seed capital to get the research started. I approve of that.
Thank you, Don Regan, for joining us this morning. Have a good day.
Thank you, John.
Now, let's check in the weather one more time with Joe Whitty. Joe?
Thanks, John. More thunderstorms for Texas today means possible airport delays. Places like Dallas, Fort Worth, Denver also. Going to see some very strong thunderstorms. In fact, a risk of tornadoes in this section of the country during the day, so travel safely. In the east, weather delays are quite possible at Pittsburgh, Atlanta, Raleigh, Durham, and Washington, D.C. Combination of rain, some fog, and some thunderstorms along the east coast. Washington's high going up to 66. Miami, warm at 89 degrees. And the Great Plains, northern Great Plains in great shape, sunny skies. St. Louis going up to 75 degrees. The west in great shape except showers in the mountain west. For the week ahead, showers through the western plains and the Rocky Mountain states, but dry for the central plains. That's my latest. See you tomorrow. John?
Thank you, Joe. And Pittsburgh, maybe it won't rain tomorrow. That's NBC News at sunrise for this Monday morning. I'm John Palmer. Have a very good day, and we'll see you once again tomorrow.